right. Welcome to my autistic rant of 2024 or the 5.24 edition of D&D, specifically looking at the classes and where they line up with one another, kind of buffs, what kind of nerfs, and what kind of changes they got into the new system. It's not like that in depth. I'm just going over the positive or negative changes to most things. If I forget, I'll open up D&D Beyond and go over it and look at myself. But this eventually got to 150 slides. So we're gonna get to it. All right, here is my tier list, my personal tier list of where I think all the classes align. As we can see, um, my ideal version of the game is everything is either within A tier, which is above par, or B tier in the balanced tier. I don't want to see anything that is overly broken in S, such as the shenanigans that wizards can do. I think that's self-explanatory. And some of the shenanigans that Druid can do with the summoning, with the wild shape. Um, it's not as bad as the wizard, but I do think Druids needed a little bit of toning. We'll get to that later. But as you can clearly see, all the four martial characters are down here. Because in this version of the game, magic is very important. Um, it is the only thing keeping Ranger up here in the balance tier. Um, Same thing with the Artificer, if you ask me. Uh, so magic rules the game. I don't think this is going to change going forward. But my hopes for right now, I've already know what I've already made my tier list at this point at the end. But my hope is that all of these go up to here, and all of these on top go down here, and in between there's maybe some minor buffs, maybe the balanced ones, and slight changes or nerfs to the ones in A tier here. Uh that is what I was hoping going into this. And I think for the most part they did a good job. But not everything. But starting off fantastic. Oh wait, no, wait, we're not there at the class yet. Here are my seven pillars of the classes, and what their role is essentially in the party. There's damage dealers, DPR, damage per round, their offensive abilities, and their burst damage. Everyone can do this, but certain classes can do it way better than others. I think literally the lowest class is like a 5 on damage. Like every class can do damage, just certain classes can do it way better. Durability, not only how high your hit points are, but also your AC and your other defenses that could block or otherwise negate damage. Everything to do with not take anything to do with general sustain, that is durability. Uh, as for support and utility, I'm going to define support as the raw numbers. Buff spells, debuffs on the enemies, healing, and other protection, like temporary hit points. These are all going to be supports for me. It is either making the enemy a lot weaker, a lot easier to hit, or your own allies a lot stronger to hit. I'm actually gonna check on recording real quick because I've done that. Okay, I'm recording. Nice, 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 nice. All right, we're back to the oh shoot. All right. Um, well, utilities, battlefield control, and alteration. This is your basic stuff like web, how it's keeping you stuck in one location, entangle, and uh, spike growth. Um, or even their social stuff like your enhance ability, your charm person. Like control is kind of everything else that support isn't in the numbers. Keep on clicking in the in the numbers category. Um, and I think that it is the pillar that crosses both the role play side of the game, which is the down here, and the combat side of the game, which is up here. And is the most important stat, which is why wizards are so strong. Social stuff, charisma, other skill checks, and golds. Maybe haggling things out. This is probably the most fun pillar of the game. And I think it's pretty self-explanatory of what the social aspect is. And certain abilities that some of the classes that didn't have social skills, such as the fighter and the barbarian, also get these. It's not like just talking to people, it's any sort of problem or situation outside of combat. Um, and then exploration, same thing, but this is more about the traveling, uh, how good you guys are able to just survive in different terrains, or if you can just skip them all entirely, as some of the high level spells can do for you. And creating just general navigational skills. And then finally, investigation. This is trying to find out information about either your opponent, what you have to do. It's not a big, it's very minor in the game, but when it is useful on trying to like deceive the BBG, trying to find information about them, it's really a fun portion of the game. I think the problem with investigation right now is that somewhat can be a solo activity, which is not good for like party game flow. I have to pause the recording here, so I'm gonna tell myself I'll leave it on this country. Actually, I was kind of done with this page. So yeah, that's what I find most important. That's what I find builds the party having a good amount of all seven of those traits. Um, so feats. Overall, they're all kind of the same. However, they do give you a stat boost, a single stat point boost, and then at level 19, you actually get an additional one. But that is reserved for the epic boons, which are just way stronger feats. Um, you don't have to take an epic boon if you like really it doesn't fit in the build. Um, and that is the wrong spelling of feats. We're gonna move on from that. Um, there's also origin feats that you can get from your background. Some of them are really strong. Uh, Others are kind of weak. Um, I think in general the more social aspects of them, but then you have like the tough feat, and tough was already good in this version. You might not take it all the time, but now you can just take it at level one, and you can be satisfied with that. So there were a certain amount of feats that were nerfed, but I think it's overall healthier for like the builds. Except I do feel like there's a lack of good ranged options other than the heavy weapon master now applying to them, but only to the longbow and to the what's it called, the heavy crossbow. Um, that is where there's a weakness right now, but I think it's it's still like a given trade worth the safety of being at a distance. That's that. So here's my color coding for the whole thing. Buffs are going to be in green, nerfs are going to be in red, neutral are going to be in yellow, and changes are going to be in light blue. All right, Barbarian. Great changes here. You'll love to see it. Okay, Rage. You get more of them. They now last a total of 10 minutes. And you get more per day, and they regenerate. You get one back on a short rest. Um, Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Um, and as a bonus action, you can just extend the longevity of rage. So you can probably use a single rage per two combats before having to take a short rest. Something like that. It's amazing. And in addition, it also works on throwing weapons now. So javelins, hand axes, those all get the rage damage bonus. Uh, Such a good change. That was one of the problems with the Barbarian is that they didn't have enough rages for the whole day. Um, they now have access to weapon masteries. So weapon masteries are a bonus effect that applies to every single weapon. But you need the mastery copy for that. I think everyone's seen what they do. I don't need to go into it. But Barbarian will start off with a two and then eventually get up to four. Nice, nice. It really they really will rely on swapping out their weapons. Actually, okay, I will bring this up because this is important. Is that for swapping weapons now, it's now going to be weapon juggling, where At the start of an attack with a weapon or at the end of an attack, you can either draw it out or stow it away. So what you can do is you can topple someone with like a poleaxe. I think it has topple, and you can make your opponent prone, and then you could take something like cleave from your great axe, and you can attack that opponent with advantage, and then another opponent. Um, you might not use topple actually, because I just realized you have a reckless attack, but hey, um, oh no, you still will because of the other effects going forward. Okay, I'll bring that up later. Um, and then secondly, dangerous sense coming up. I forgot to put the levels here because initially D&D Beyond didn't do that. So everything's in the standard level order. I'll mention if it level changes later on in the actual notes. Um, so Danger Sense, fantastic. You no longer need to see what gave you advantage. I get why it was written there, but it was kind of stupid because it didn't like work for traps. But like it's supposed to be Spidey sense. I don't know why it physically you have to physically look at it. Um, primary primal primal knowledge. This is new. And while you're raging, you get to add your strength bonus to a variety of skills. This is like intimidation, survival, animal handling. These are like a bunch of like barbarian focused skills, and it's great. You finally get to use intimidation. I mean, strength for intimidation. I don't know. I personally think some skills should have a either or for abilities. I skipped too far. Okay, skipped too far ahead. Um, I mean that's my personal fix to it. Um, so Feral Instinct, it did lose its surprise round with any replacement. Hey, um, it's just it's been removed from the game. There's no longer surprise rounds. There's now just an advantage on initiative rolls. Um, you got a new ability though, which is instinctual pounce, and whenever you use your rage, you get to use half your movement to extend. Whenever you use the ability to extend your rage, you get to use half your movement in addition. It's an okay ability, but eh. I mean, I guess technically, if you're raging in between combats, you're technically faster than your other party members, by a good chunk. It doesn't matter. All right, brutal critical's gone and replaced by brutal strikes. Thank God, this ability sucked. It was the only way that you can get extra damage like above your extra attacks, and my goodness, it was awful. It only procced on crits. So now you can trade your advantage for your reckless strikes and give yourself an extra D10 for damage. And then this will scale at level 17 like Brutal Critical did. So this is how you get extra damage now. So we're rocking with both your weapon attacks and these extra D10s. Now, again, no, you don't have an advantage on these rolls. You're trading it off for the extra damage. So that's where the topple mastery can come in, where you use your advantage strike on the first one, and then you go for the second strike with advantage for the additional damage die. In addition to this, also you can either push the target or slow them. At level 13, you then grant the ability to give your allies plus hit on the target instead, or you can give the target disadvantage on their next saving throw, which could be huge combos with some of your spellcasters. Fantastic stuff. Um, and then now Relentless Rage has gotten better. So this is the one that stopped you from dying outright when you got to 0 HP. It used to only heal you by one. Now it brings you up to your level times two. So it starts at 22 at level 11, and then it goes all the way up to 40 at level 20. Again, this is a bigger gap. You might still fall, but you'll take more hits. That way your allies don't take those hits. And that was it for all the changes. So really good to the base class, and then we only get better with the subclasses, which all got buffs, and the new one looks amazing. So Path of the Berserker. Frenzy is completely changed, and it's way better. Um, so it no longer costs you exhaustion nor your bonus action. Instead, it is a slight increase to damage to start off with the d6s, but it scales off of your rage damage, adding an extra d6 per rage damage. So it scales all the way up to 6. Um, and the only con of this ability is that you have to be reckless attacking. You are barbarian, you're always reckless attacking. This is fine. This is not an issue. The retaliation strike now got pushed to level 10 and swapped it with the intimidating presence, which is now level 14. I can't believe I remember that. I wrote this like a month ago. Oh, it's right there. That's why I remember that. All right. Anyways, so you have less overall uses of it. However, it is just an AoE frighten, um, as a bonus action. It's just way more efficient and what you want to be as the wild berserker. Listen, berserker, it fixes damage, and it fixed its scariness. The one thing is that the level 6 feature, the can't be charmed, frightened, or something else, that was always good. It was the one good thing about the subclass, but now the rest of it's also good. Wild Heart, this is a change from the totem. Uh, First things going off into it, Bear got nerfed all the way throughout. So, and we also lost all the abilities of the Elk and Tiger. So the bear, it no longer resists radiant and necrotic as well. Why didn't I put this in? You have to choose two damage types, and then you get the resistance to them before you enter a rage. Now, good thing about this. Oh, actually, I'll look flinch the eagle instead. So the eagle, instead of having disadvantage on opportunity attacks, now as a bonus action, you can just disengage entirely. Um, and you can dash at the same time. It's it's way better. Now, you can choose which animal form you want to go into, so you're not locked to one of them. You can choose between the bear if you want more defenses, the eagle if you want more agility, and the wolf if you want that advantage strike for your allies. So more consistency. Um, Aspect of the beast got replaced with aspect of the wilds. Aspect of the wilds pretty much rips from the beast barbarian subclass. Um, you can change these out on a long rest, but it either gives you dark vision, it gives you climbing speed, or it gives you swimming speed. I'm pretty sure the Beast Barbarian, like I don't know if this is a good change. Um, but hey, uh, I'm just glad the Bear Totem got nerfed. I'm sorry, it needed to get nerfed. So same thing again. Elk and Tiger are gone. And then the Eagle, Bear, and Wolf just got new names for their thing, their rages. Now the Falcon, the Lion, and Ram. So as the Falcon, you used to have to land uh at the end of your turn. Now you could just fly. Again, it's a 14th level character. I don't know why you just didn't give him a flying range. It's fine. They're 14 level. Um as for the lion, it got rid of the target being frightened immune. Um and finally the ram now. It no longer needs a bonus action to do the charge ability. I am surprised I'm remembering what these abilities do. Um, so yeah, I think Totem, look, it got nerfed for the bear, but like the rest of the options look far more better and consistent now. I feel like it's a better subclass. It's not as strong, but like it's healthier for the game. Um, Speaking of subclass, which I think was already good and now just got better, it is the Path of the Zealot. So one thing about the Zealot is that it relied on you dying. Newsflash, it's not a good thing. So instead, it's more focused on keeping you and your allies alive, which is again a far better thing to do. So now it gives you a separate pool of D12s that you can use a bonus action to heal yourself with, and they scale off of your level. I think it's proficiency bonus specifically. I don't. I think yeah. I think it is proficiency bonus. So you start off. No, no, no. It's barbarian levels. Not barbarian levels. Um, And then we have your Fanatic Focus. This gives you an extra saving throws. What? Okay. Yep. So you get your rage damage bonus added to your saving throws, and I guess a reroll, which I forgot to mention. Um, keep you from failing. Zealot's Presence. You can now start using rages to gain this ability back. And then Rage Beyond Death is replaced with Rage of Gods. For a minute, you can become a superhero. I love this ability. You can fly around. You can grant resistance. You gain resistances to yourself as well as you heal down to party members. This is a really fun ability. And it comes online a lot sooner than the Paladin's like superhero mode. Really cool, really favorable. The new one. Path of the World Tree. Okay, so Vitality of the Tree allows you to gain temporary HP at the start of combat and give it out to some of your allies for free. It does go away at the end of your rage, however, but again, you can make it last 2 combats if you play your cards right. You get 10 minutes of that. Branches of the World Tree. This is where the Fey magic teleportation starts to pop on in. So on a reaction, you can force a creature to make a strength saving throw or be teleported right beside you, 0 speed. It is. This is probably going to be like worse than Sentinel as a problem. I think the subclass is going to be a problem. We're starting off right now. This is even sooner than the normal Sentinel combo you would get. It's going to be a lot. Anyways, another thing too is that you could also use this ability to save your allies to yoink them from a bad situation. Yeah, so this ability is probably gonna be a problem. Oh shoot. Um, and then the battering ram will give you an extra 10 feet of reach on any heavy or versatile weapon. And you can now use the top pull, which you can put in there, or push mastery, along with any mastery of that weapon. I already went over how topple. I think is still going to be good. For the attack, the reckless attack into the non reckless attack to give that attack advantage. Or push, which again you can save your allies. And then the last feature here, traveling on the world tree. As a bonus action, you can super misty step your whole party like a giant dimension door. As a bonus action, I think you can do this like once per day or per rage. Um, it is a phenomenal thing. Now going over any of the other subclasses that didn't quite make it in. Um, I won't do this for every like I stopped doing this when I went down the list, just to see if anything of the other ones got a buff. Battle Rager. This is the dwarf spiky armor one. Grappling is better, I guess. This do not pick this up. Beast, I think. Listen, Wildheart may have jacked its level 6 ability. Um, however, it is still it like the Beast version is still better. Um, but it's unarmored strikes don't have a mastery. So that's a flaw. It's part of the Beast. So you have to unless you really want to go more into that grappling build. Honestly, you would be a way better grappler than the. Oh no, I spoiled my rating. A way better grappler than the Battle Rager. Um, as for the giant, thaumaturgy gives you advantage checks, I guess. Whatever. Storm Herald. I looked at the subclass. I actually really like it. However, um, it has a problem where it's really reliant on its rage, and thanks to you getting more of it, it really holds true. Um, and with the slow or push property, it's really easy to keep people in your rage as well. So topple as well. I should have mentioned topple. Yeah, topple cuts your movement speed in half. So topple and slow, they're not going anywhere. They're not leaving your aura. Um, This I would still recommend probably playing, if you're to choose the class Barbarian. So that comes to my overall support. Uh, so listen, you're a Barbarian. You're mostly going to focus on your damage and durability. I think your damage did get a more consistent buff. I still feel like you can do better damages with other the marshals moving forward, but it's nothing to scoff at. You're definitely doing more damage in the early game than a lot of the other classes. Your durability is fantastic. It's not perfect because I think you have a weakness for magic, which one of the other classes no longer has. We'll get into that one later. That's a very interesting. But you're like second to best, for your durability here. Uh, hey, you're barbarian. I guess you can make it easier for people to like get hit. Maybe I should change this, like maybe like a two, but you don't really support much. You can focus on a subclass for that. You're mostly caring about yourself, like in the utility department. Being able to push and drag people is a lot easier. Um, and you can combo a lot more with their allies that way. It's not the best. There are better marshals again for doing that. And all my phone is going off. Okay. Lastly, in social situations, it's still kind of bad, but now that rage will help you up with even some of the conversational skills that you didn't have access to in the first place. Like you can do a little bit more in an actual talking scenario. And exclamation, the same thing too, because of your other skill proficiencies going up when you have the rage ability activated. That also works there too. You don't investigate stuff. You're a barbarian. You smash. So I think all that together brings it up to a low B tier, a super climb away from the D, and I feel like this barbarian is perfectly fine. Um, there doesn't really need to be a lot of changes. I feel like this class now works and is a great addition to your party. It may not fit in every group, but if you got all squishies and you just want to be the big meaty person that swings at their enemy recklessly, this is a good choice to pick. All right. I think I'll take a little drink here. All right, Bart got changed. Um, it gained some stuff, but it lost some stuff. I think overall, you know what? Let's just go into it instead. So, like one of the things I don't like about it is that it lost some of its weapon proficiencies. It no longer has hand crossbows, long swords, rapiers, or short swords. These are things it had in the past. It no longer does. I always thought Bard was slightly weapon focused, at least at the start of the game, because of its lackluster damage cantrips. And it is no longer trying to be the case. As for good news, Bardic Inspiration now lasts a full hour instead of 10 minutes. This is fantastic. Uh, I forgot to mention, in addition, a more important one is that you get to roll for inspiration after you get the results, but not before you get the answer to the results. So if you make a weapon attack and you rolled maybe a 14 and you're not sure that's going to hit, then you can add your bardic inspiration afterwards instead of beforehand. Um, I think a lot of tables already played it that way, so I think that's why I forgot to mention it because I forget myself. As for Song of the Rest, it is completely gone. I think it was a nice little top off, especially for early adventuring parties. I'm not that sad that it's gone, but like, I mean, honestly, it could have just stayed in. There's no reason to get rid of it. But in addition to that, that's why expertise was dropped down to level 2, as well as level 9 for its second edition. Um, So yeah, just a early movement. Jack of all trades got a slight nerf, and that is it no longer adds to initiative rules. It was kind of cheesy to begin with, but like, listen, sometimes getting ahead of your enemy, even by 1 point, is enough to change the tides of battle. I'm just saying. So you might feel that from time to time. Font of inspiration. Uh, so now you can use your like level 1 or maybe level 2 spell slots to refill your bardic inspiration die. And it might be worth it. You're not really going to be, as a bard, that focused on your smaller spells when you grow up into the higher tiers of play, so it might be worth trading in a spell slot for a Bardic Inspiration die. Counter Charm, oh boy. It got moved to level 7. That doesn't matter. What matters is that it is an actual Counter Charm. Wow. Shocker. So you can now use your reaction to give a creature a second chance against being charmed or frightened with advantage. So you give them super advantage because they already used their first roll, they failed, and then you give them two more rolls. Fantastic, amazing, thank you. And we come back to disappointment. All right, so no, you can no longer choose magical secrets. You're locked to the cleric, wizard, or druid spell list. However, you get that spell list from here on out. Um, so you can get five more spells from other classes this way. When you progress. However, it does put a damper on like when you get those jump up points of knowing more spells than the other classes. That doesn't like it, it's kind of like jumps, but you keep on track. You still have the same amount of spells known at the end. But this you got them a little bit earlier, and you can do cheesy things where you grab some paladin um spells that you really shouldn't have because they're meant for level 20. Um, Superior Inspiration. They moved it from level 20 to that's level 18. It gives you two inspiration die back to the one as well. Uh, I mean, it's fine. It's alright at the start of initiative. It's fine, but like, I'm just glad it's no longer the level 20 ability. What is though is Words of Creation. So you get Power Word Heal and Power Word Kill. Always prepared, and you can twin cast them as long as the second target is within 10 feet of the first. I don't know how easy it is for Power Word Kill to proc that way, but Power Word Heal will. Um, so I think it might be worth it. That is like two instant cleanses and heals. I think that's going to be clutch. I'm not sure about Power Word Kill, however. Um, but again, this is like replacing the spot that could have like I think Bards get Wish. Of course, they have the whole spell list. This is also replacing the slot that could have just been used to cast a Wish. So I don't. It's up to you how much you really value these spells, but it's a lot better than Superior Inspiration, that's for sure. Um, all right, College of Glamour. So you now gain temporary hit points, scaling up of your. I think it's supposed to say Inspiration. Um, and no longer your level, which is a lot. It's a lot more numbers. A lot. That's a lot better. 'Cause I think it seems to be scaling off of your proficiency bonus. Um, Now, control and performance is gone. It was a roleplay feature. Personally, I liked it, but now it's replaced with beguiling magic. So you now always have charm person and mirror image prepared. And when you use illusions or enchantments, charms, you can now target an additional creature. But this ability can only be used once per long rest unless you use your inspire. And I said perception again. Okay, I need to really check these. So it'll you can use one of your inspirations to refill this feature, which I think you might need to do because that could come in really clutch. Uh, um, Now the Mantle of Majesty feature gives you the command spell always prepared. Um, and you can refresh. It is a great um like superhero mode. And you only need a third level spell slot to recast this ability, and I think honestly you might be doing that at 14th. Is 14th level? No, I don't know. Wait, which one is it? Hold on. The refilling of it. So yeah, you just start commanding the battlefield and enthrall everybody. You might use this feature a lot more at later levels because you have the resources to do it. How many third level spell slots you get, but yeah. casting command over and over again is crazy. Um, especially no, that was suggestion that had that. Anyways, it's good. um, However, unbreakable match that got nerfed. Um, so if you're hit by an enemy creature while you use this ability, you no longer give them disadvantage on their next hits. So you no longer give them disadvantage on their next spell saving throw that you make against them. That was kind of important. That's eh, yeah. I don't know how much you're going to be using the Unbreakable Majesty. I think it also, but hey, it's 14th level, so you might not even get there in a game. All right, College of Lore. So magical discoveries, it has to get changed just like the other was. So now it's locked to the cleric, wizard, or druid spell list. However, beforehand it couldn't be swapped out. Now it can. Um, so this one will scale with how you progress as a character. So you might this might be fine actually. Um, because you'll get access to wild combinations of just good quality spells from these three spell. Because listen, as much as the paladin, like it sucks, back to the paladin list. The problem is it was only good for those couple of levels. Like the druid, cleric, and wizard are like the top three spell lists. So you'll have access to quite the dangerous duo ships. And then peerless skill. You could give yourself advantage, and then add your bardic inspiration too. If you personally fail a skill check, so you can give yourself your own bardic inspiration. Uh, Listen, College of Lore didn't really need a change. It was already high quality. The only thing it needed to change was because of the other magic suits got changed. I guess this is better. It's a level. It's a stupid level 14 ability. This is very impactful for the College of Valor. It's the only change it got. And it's now you can use your cantrips as one of your extra attacks. The cantrips are really good now, especially Tree Strike. Um, so yeah, this is a big boost to your damage. And since cantrip scale, this is phenomenal. Good job. Change, but it's a great change because College of Valor, College of Valor was always not looking quite up to par as the College of Swords. Lastly, the new one, College of Dance. I love the flavor of this subclass. It is not that strong. But starting off with one of its stronger features is dazzling footwork. So this turns you into a monk. Um, you have advantage on dance-based performances. Thank God, they didn't leave that out. Unarmed defense now with your charisma and dexterity. Your unarmed strike now scales off of your dexterity to hit, as well as a bardic inspiration die for damage. And when you use bardic inspiration, you can also make an additional unarmed strike on your turn, on your reaction. Um, I spell bardic inspiration. Um, Next one is inspiring movement. This one's kind of bad. So when an enemy comes into melee range of yourself, you can use your reaction you can use your reaction and a bardic inspiration die to disengage. Move yourself half half your feet, as well as an ally can do the same thing. I just I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's gonna help you that much when enemies are just they have to have been just barely out of your reach for that to matter. And I don't think it's gonna matter that much for an ally unless they're very screwed. I just don't think this is gonna be as helpful as much. Um, what will be is tandem footwork. So you can spend AA, you can spend a bardic inspiration die. Give everyone advantage in initiative depending on what you rolled. Fantastic skill moving forward. Uh, Leading evasion. So you get the rogue's evasion, and so do all allies within 5 feet of you. Problem is, if you're fighting something who you have to make a bunch of dex based saving throws, like dragons, like wizards, fighting them. Anyone with a breath weapon, like you, the goal, the strategy is not to stand all in one place. So I don't think the second part of this ability is ever gonna proc. Unless you guys are just caught off guard. Like I think a smart adventuring party at level 14 when you get this ability. It's level 14. Yeah, level 14 when you get this ability is not gonna stand to be the dragon's barbecue. So I don't think it's gonna work that well. Other forgot I mentioned the Whispers Bard. The other bard subclass that you make it into the book. Okay, you just in general you have more uses of bardic inspiration die for the card, the creation bard, for the eloquency bard, and for the spirits bard. For the swords bard, so you actually didn't get the martial prowess that you got for for the other bard subclasses. Have you still have the sickles? So like in terms of like actual DPS, unless you're going the rapier build, there's not really a loss here. But you do have more you do have more uses of bardic inspiration. And finally for the whisper bard, you just lost only rapier, which did you more damage. Don't play Whispers Bard. I don't know why they suck so much. All right. So the total all Bard review. I at first put Bard um at high B tier, and I think it's moved down to mid B tier. I feel like you've lost some consistent damage with your weapons. You've gained some. I didn't go into the spells, but some of the spells like Vicious Mockery, and you got the new like Twinkle of Star. I don't know what it's called. But that's a D8 now. So you have, I guess, better range damage, but it's taken the melee focus of the bard out of the base class, and put it more into the subclasses if you want it. For the dance and valor bard. Bards I think have the weakest durability in the game. They just their the spell list doesn't compensate for their class, and neither does their base armor set. Um, As far as supporting goes, they are fantastic for supporting and utility at the same time. I think that's one of the strong suits is that they don't favor either; they do both. More importantly, their social skills always the best in the game, as well as their investigation skills have gotten even better with the amount of bardic inspiration die you can use, and then in general, since they have a lot of skill proficiencies with their the jack of all trades and a lot of extra piece, they can do some explorational stuff. Um, and again, yeah, they have access to now the more of the cleric spells, more of the wizard spells, more of the druid spells for these three pillars. So, hey, and here's if you want more of something, here's how subclasses just help in that. Um, I'm gonna cut it off here. I think, yeah, I gotta take my dog for a walk. So I will cut the recording here. I'm back from taking my dog out for a walk. Okay, let's get into this loading. Where were we last time? Cleric. Um, this is another class that was a-okay. Um, there were a couple things that put it on the extreme end, but not too many. That I'm gonna be honest, I'm fine with the support being a little bit overpowered than the rest of the classes. Hey, you know what? If you're designated to be the healer of the group, it may come with some perks. Unfortunately, that's not quite the case. So, starting off, overall, you have less spells. You used to have 25 because it was wisdom plus your level, and now you're capped out at 22. I guess it no longer cares about your wisdom modifier, so it might help earlier levels where you don't have to, like, you can tailor feats and not have to bump up your wisdom, but, like, now you might want to because it's a way easier to do that. Because you get bonuses for some of the feats. Well, for all the feats, what am I saying? Um, as let me check if I'm recording. Nice. Um, Sorry. As for changes, so all the subclasses got pushed to third level. Everyone's going, oh no, not the subclasses being at third level. Listen, everybody, it's fine. The first two levels are like a tutorial, anyways. Most people who are uh um knowledgeable with the game, they'll start at level 3. Um, and it doesn't ruin your character concept. It's kind of like, because I'm a paladin, mate, and I know the subclass is at level 3, but like the paladin and the oath they take, they start off with the sacrifice and putting in the work before getting the reward. And I feel like that should just be a standard. I feel like as much as we have patrons from Beyond for the Warlocks, if you don't put in the effort for that patron, I don't know why they would grant you their unique power. So same thing for the clerics. However, there is some stuff that has shifted for the better. Um, so you can either choose to be for the Divine Order to be more martial fighter with martial weapons and heavy armor proficiency, or you can go the more um mage side and get an extra cantrip, alongside adding your wisdom bonus to Arcana and Religion checks. This will replace pretty much most of the um, most of the having to choose. Sorry, this will replace most of the subclasses, either giving or taking away. Uh, sorry, not giving, either giving you one or the other. Now you get to choose which one you want. Um, so that is great. Um, as for the Channel Divinity, it actually got nerfed. Um, Technically, you start off with more during the day. Used to get them all back on a short rest. Now you only get back one. It scales all the way up to 4 earlier on, but like at lower levels you get more. At higher levels you get way less. Um, yeah, it kind of sucks. But what doesn't suck is the new channel divinities got a little bit better. So turn undead. It now frightens and incapacitates targets. Um, with the frighten, however, if they're immune, it just doesn't frighten them. It still works. It's not that um because they're frightened they're immune. It doesn't matter. It just in addition will frighten. Um, but they no longer have to take. I don't think they have to take the dodge action anymore. I think they're just out like they're just no longer fighting. I think I have that right. Divine Spark is now an additional option, so within 30 feet of you, you can deal a d8's worth of healing or harming for radiant damage on an opponent Constitution save. Not a great saving throw, but hey, it's a blast of radiant damage around you. And it scales up with your level to, was it level or wisdom modifier? I'm not quite sure. I think it might have been level. For a D for 5d8. Um, nice burst healing. That's a nice boost. So yeah, you can do more with the channel video. That's probably why they nerfed it. But they didn't buff a lot of the subclasses. So yeah, subclass level 3. I will say though, I think personally they should have gotten the H that they get in the standard handbook. Just because clerics are very diverse. Same thing with the wizards when we get into them. I think because they're using only a very limited amount of the subclasses, I think that's a detriment. I think wizards and clerics should have gotten more. Just to really symbolically represent um them. But you can always just pick up the past subclasses, so it's fine. I just wish that some of them got updated. Such as the Death Domain. Anyways, destroy undead now replaced by sear undead. So instead of them dying, they now take. Oh, this is why I thought of the wisdom and the d8s. So yeah, it's your wisdom modifier times a d8, so it goes up to 5. When you have 20 wisdom, with a radiant damage. So yeah, if you're specifically facing undead, use turn undead to do the same thing that you would with divine spark. If you're not facing that, then you can use divine spark. Um, So for some monsters, if they had higher HP for their level, the Destroy Undead would have been better. But for most monsters, the Seer Undead is a lot stronger and will do a lot more for you. Um, whoops, a little much. Blessed Strike. So now it just got changed to the main class for either you get the D8s on your weapon, or if you get the potent cantrip, where you get the wisdom modifier to the cantrip's damage. Um, yeah. The potent cantrip did get a second boost going later on. Divine Intervention. This is a big change, and I think this is for the better. So it's no longer a 10% gamble, scaling up to 19 when you're at level 19. Instead, you just get to cast 5th level or lower for free, just an action. This you just use this to cast Hollow and go to town on whatever combat encounter your DM sets up. This is a more consistent change, and you get this back on a long rest. Um, Finally, the improvised with strikes. So now it's a D 2d8. I think that was already in the book. But the cantrips features that as your option. Now they give out temporary HP to your allies. It's just a good little top off. I don't think it's that much. Uh, but hey, it might help you from needing to heal them later on in the battle. Um, I mean, I think this is like level 14 features, maybe not. As for the greater divine intervention, I think this got nerfed, however. Um, because listen, having your god come in and do whatever you want for for a week, for the duration, having your god come in once a week is pretty cool. And it's this now just allows you to cast the wish spell instead. The caveat to that is that if you use it for the other features, you might not be able to use wish ever again. So essentially, it's just any 8th level spell you can cast now. But when you use the feature that way, it's 5 days on average between time. So I would say overall, there's a buff to the earlier levels, but a nerf to the later levels when it comes to cleric, and only in certain aspects. So now going over the subclasses. All right, so Life Domain had a massive spell shift change, adding in a lot more of the healing spells that it didn't have earlier, and losing some of the damage and other spells. Like Aid is a good one to pick up. It's weird they didn't have Masculine Word. Or Life and Beacon Hope, I think they're pretty similar. I think, yeah, I think Greater Restoration is better than Raised Dead because Raised you could just be having Revivify at level 3 instead of Raised Dead. Um, and since there's like a 10-day limit on Raised Dead, so you can change it out at the end of your day if you really need it. Spiritual Weapon is no now, so that's covered the list. So with Supreme Healing, every this is your final level ability. Every healing spell, like all the basic ones, got a dice buff. Listen, why is this in the book? I don't like the archetype of all clerics do is heal, and this they could have chosen a different domain and like got the same vibe because they kind of did that. Because we're moving on to the light domain, which for me has a better vibe than the life domain and doesn't put the cleric into a box. Like this is the damage focused cleric subclass. Um, but it has like it's the same vibe. Anyways, moving in, we have See Invisibility and Arcane Eye. Great spells. However, I feel like the loss of Flaming Sphere for See Invisibility I don't see why that was made. I think we can keep Flaming Sphere. I don't really see how that works too well with the light domain specifically. Arcane is a good pickup. Guardian of Faith is not a very good spell for the level. But Arcane Eye is. There is now a buff to Warding Flare where the level 6 ability got moved down to its original so you can be used for allies. Um, and now improved Warding Flare is every single time someone's attacked, they now gain the temporary HP to start blocking the next hits after that. Um, However, Corona of Light did get nerfed because it's now uses based off of your Wisdom modifier. Before it was in an infinite amount, but it did take an action to set up. Uh, it's not a very powerful like capstone for the subclass, so I don't know why it was nerfed. It's not a big deal. I think you won't use it during every fight. Um, to get 5 of them a day, so I don't think you're gonna even need to use them. I don't think it's a big nerf. Tricky to make this one got nerf. Sorry, this one got buffed. Whoa. Um, so added to your spell list. I don't know why it wasn't on before. Invisibility, Exotic Pattern is a big pickup. Now the tech's okay depending on what the bad guy's doing. It's a bit of a niche confusion. I mean, it's okay, but it has a problem. Like I'd rather just use Hypnotic Pattern. Mirror Image, that's a bad thing to lose. As well as Blink can be somewhat okay to spell magic. I think is a bad pick. I think it's bad that you lost that and even though Polymorph got a little bit nerfed, I think it's still pretty good. Yeah, I don't agree with all the changes here. I feel like only invisibility and like it's an equal trade-off, but you lost some good stuff. However, you also gain some good stuff in your abilities. So, Blessing of the Trickster, yeah, just completely lasts until you can get a long rest. Great. It was the advantage on stealth rolls, I believe. And that only lasts like an hour or like minute. Anyways, it was something stupid. Um, Invoke Duplicity is now a bonus action for your channel divinity. And it no longer requires concentration. This is fantastic. Um, and then Cloak of Shadows, which I forgot what it was. It was terrible, and it is now replaced by Trickster's Transmutation, which allows you to swap places um with the duplicate. Whoops. Uh, as for improved duplicity, this is a big change. You no longer get 4 duplicates. Now anyone can benefit from the advantage on melee strikes or up close strikes. And then it heals people upon its death. Um, it's pretty cool. I think I would have liked it if there were like 1 or 2 extra duplicates. But hey, I think it's an overall upgrade. Wordamate got buffs because something's got nerfed. It's a little bit deceiving. So adding guiding bolts, fire shield's fine, steal 1 strike, really cool spell actually. I think it just kind of sucks because it's on the wizard spell list, which it doesn't want to be in melee range. But good for clerics, and rangers and paladins. But I think it's only in the wizard spell list. But it's good here. Uh, Divine Favor got buffs. I don't know why they got rid of that. Um, Stone Skin's terrible. Flame Strike. It got buffed, but you'd rather use the Fireball. Um, I think overall pretty good. Kind of sucks that Divine Favor no longer has concentration on it, so it's actually like worth it, especially for a melee focused build that uses multi attacks with its warp ability. Anyways, so Guided Strike can now be used on allies with a +10 to hit with your Channel Divinity as a reaction. Nice, nice. Uh, War Priest. This is your bonus action swings with your Wisdom modifier. It now refreshes on a short rest. You're pretty much going to have enough of them to last you the full in between short rests. So you get the fastest extra attacks. However, it does cost the bonus action. Um, that I wonder if this works well with a dual weapon fighting build. I'm not. You know what? Maybe not because the Nick property is fine, but it's it'll be competing with the two the feet dual wielding, which has its own separate bonus action attack. So those will be competing. So maybe not. Um, maybe just good for the big heavy hitters. Okay. Anyways, War God's Blessing. Um, so swapped out with the Guiding Strike. Um, so now, with your Channel Divinity, you can cast Spiritual Weapon, or uh, Shield of Faith, and they don't require concentration because now Spiritual Weapon does require concentration. It scales a little bit better. You can't double up on either spell. I think it's good for Shield of Faith to have this ability. I don't think you're gonna use it for Spiritual Weapon, even though it's the old Spiritual Weapon. Again, it doesn't upcast. Um, yeah, I just think it's not gonna do as much damage as your Guided Strike, unless you really want to attack people like in 220 areas. Um, and then the Avatar of Battle. So beforehand, you only got resistance to magical piercing and slash damage. Sorry, that only got resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slash damage that were non-magical, which sucked at that level. Now, since those traits are gone, I think this will save you from more attacks from different targets, unless, as people have been worried about, um, those three damage types later on in the game will just be replaced by force damage enemies. We don't know yet. We haven't looked at the DMG, but I think this is gonna be buffed. Going over to other subclasses. So, um, there were spell changes for everything, so we can just go over that. Um, and for the Arcana one, you can now add your Wisdom modifier to Arcana checks if you pick that specific um, Divine Order. Um, and access to sixth, ninth level wizard spells is just fantastic. It always has been. Um, Death Domain. I think having access to heavy armor makes this subclass actually try and function correctly. I think it's been sleeping in the wing for too long, and I think it's ready to actually be a viable cleric subclass for damage. I'm not too sure yet. Forge, since magic weapons, the point of this class is to give your marshals magic weapons. That's no longer an issue now with the damage types. You do have access to martial weapons yourself. You didn't used to get this before. You only had access to simple ones. So that's nice. Uh, but I don't know how useful it's going to be, especially just compared to an artificer. Um, grave clerics. So a funny thing is that spare the dying, and healing spells got buffed. So when they're down, you do more healing, and spare the dying, beforehand, it gives you a 30 feet what's it called? A 30 feet and bonus action, Spare the Dying. And Spare the Dying now scales, so it doubles its range at 5th, 11th, and 17th level. So you have a sniper of a Spare the Dying, which is kind of funny. Not very useful, but hilarious. And the Divine Order options now help you if you want to go more into that martial focus or stay at the back line. That's up to you. Cleric of Knowledge also got something a little funny. So because you used to get expertise on Arcana and Religion checks, and if you pick that option, you can now at level 3 have a +10 in either, and then this will scale at level 17 to a +20. And in addition, it gains a tool, which now tools actually matter now, and they're kind of cool. Oh right, there's more subclasses. See what I mean when I say there was a lot left out, especially. Okay, we're gonna skip. Twilight Domain is broken. It is still broken. I I hate Twilight Domain. So yeah, that's what I should have like. It should have been in there and replaced with Life Domain, and then gotten nerfs. It should have gotten nerfs. Should have been balanced. Same thing with you, Peace Domain. Actually, you know what? I change my mind. If you want something that was like the Life Domain but cooler, the Peace should have been in replace of the Life Domain. It's so much cooler. Um, from a design perspective. All right. Enough talk about that. So nature. You now have access to martial weapons. That's pretty cool. However, your divine strikes used to be elemental, and now they're locked to just radiant or necrotic. I don't think it's gonna matter a whole bunch, but it will matter for the Tempest, now that I just remembered it. So used to do like used to do lightning damage with the divine strikes. Now that no longer works, and it like your subclass doesn't work properly because it used to do lightning damage with the divine strikes. Lastly, order because I'm out of order here. Fantastic. Uh, so you have access to martial weapons now. That's nice because you were frontline. Unless you masters. I think you used to be able to give them some kind of bonus, and now they can use mashes their attacks. Oh, you could use your like reaction to like attack, or use an ally's reaction, something like that. And now they can also use masteries on top of that. That's why I put it there. Um, they used to be psychic damage for your divine strikes, and now they're locked to brain necrotic. That doesn't matter how much. All right. I think that's everything from the cleric. So I think your base damage went up a little bit. You have the option to take whatever suits your build better. Same thing with the durability, especially in those clerics of class that didn't get the extra tankiness. Uh, Support skills just went up. I don't think it's breaking any barriers. It's still at level 10. It's still at 10 to 10. But it's starting to get there. You're starting to do a lot more than you should. And your base utility, it's always been pretty good, but you've been lacking some of the crucial spells that the other more offensively focused spellcasters can really change the course of battle. Um, Social exploration, investigation. So yeah, and this is what each subclass will help you improve a little bit more. So yeah, clerics, I think they're more consistent. I put them now at the top of A, but I think it's more because some of the others in the A tier have shifted a little bit. Um, if it still had the um, if it still had the old greater divine intervention, I think I would put it at S. But I think it's good. I think it's in a healthy. Um, it's in a healthy spot, and I like it. As for something I didn't think needed to be too heavily nerfed, we have Druid. Okay, so now, um, they don't have access to simple weapons. And they no longer have the metal armor restriction, but they lost their access to medium armor. Um, so this is an overall nerf unless you're a multi-class. Um, just like the cleric, their spell casting list got shortened down to 22 instead of 25. Uh, Druidic now lets you speak with animals. Um, Making that spell even more useless. So that's great. The primal order is to choose whether you now have access to the martial weapons, or medium proficiency. So I guess you just don't get it off the back. You have to choose, or you can get the cantrip um, alongside the Arcana and Nature bonus. So you're having to choose between being a frontline or a backline druid. Um, the problem here is one of the better defensive features in the past used to be just wild shaping. That'll give you the tankiness you really want. However, wild shaping got changes, which is why I split it up into three. Uh, so the buffs. It's now a bonus action for everyone. And you can now pick a swimming speed beast at level 2. Before you couldn't. You can also speak in wild shape. You can't cast spells, but you can speak to your allies. So now, bad stuff. You have a maximum of 4 wild shape options. Um, that you can generate one per turn. So you can swap out. Oh yeah, sorry. You have a maximum of 4 wild shape options you can choose from. That scales all the way up to 8. I'm going to be honest, I don't think this is as bad. I think you're only really looking at certain beasts to change from, so I don't think it matters too much. Um, you oh shoot, I actually missed that. Sorry. Whoops, that's my bad. You only have a certain amount of wild shapes that stop at 4, and you only regenerate 1 per short rest. So they're not as versatile to throw out during the day as they used to be, which really sucks. Um, However, you can swap out one of the options known during a long rest. That's again, you're. I don't think this last part's going to be too bad of a thing. The part that sucks though is you used to use it as a big hit point boost to your durability, and you can't do that anymore. It is now just temporary hit points based off your druid level, and that's it. It doesn't Your form doesn't go away once you're out of the temporary hit points, but like there is no reason to use this feature for wild shaping unless you are the moon druid. Which is why the wild companion as an option is just way better now. So they last until a long rest, and you could just keep on spamming the find familiars. I think wild shape is dead at the moment. Which it deserved to get nerfed. It did not deserve to get nerfed this hard. So same thing, subclass move from level 2 to 3. Hey, deal with it. Wild Surgeons. So you can swap out a level 1 spell for a wild shape, which you're not gonna do because they suck, unless you have other uses for them. However, you can do it vice versa, but you can only do it once per day, with the wild shape into spell slots of level 1. So yeah, this is again the thing is they're valuing a wild shape as a level 1 spell slot. It's not wild shaping is not that good. Elemental Fury. So just like the cleric, their divine strikes deal some of the elemental damage. I think it's like lightning, acid, fire, cold. I think those are the elemental damage types. Um, so they've added it to main class, or you can choose the potent cantrip option, which adds your wisdom modifier to the damage. Um, and then you have the improved version. So now you have sniper cantrips. Uh, I believe this works with the new Eldritch Spear. It go crazy. Yeah, this is more funny. I don't think the cantrip one will gain a big buff from here, but it's kind of funny. And then same thing with elementals. Yeah, I wrote here 60 foot spare the dying goes crazy. Sorry, 600 foot spare the dying goes crazy. I think this is mostly just kind of funny. There might be some builds that you can make to default kill enemies at range with this the Eldritch Spear. All right, part four. These spells. So, you can now cast spells in your wild shape, which again you're not gonna do. Um, that have material components. That don't have a gold cost. Before you actually couldn't do that, which is kind of weird to limit some of those spells. But now it's only the gold cost that matters. That you can't cast it. Um, Timeless Body just moved to level 20. It's fine. That's part of the Archdruid feat. So you always have Wild Shape ready on initiatives. That's fine. You used to have an infinite amount at this level, so it's a nerf. Um, you can also transform your wild shapes into second level spell slots. Sorry, 2 level spell slots, and you can combine it to a total of like you can go by fours. Like you can spend 2 to get fourth level spell slot. You can go all the way up to 8, where it caps out. And you use once per long rest. Um, and that's actually using, not losing. And using this ability, you could ignore any components that don't have a spell cost. Um, so yeah, step one, nerf wild chip in the ground, and then find other ways not to use the wild shape, as they keep on constantly giving you other options not to use wild shape or wild shaping. Such as the Circle of the Land. Bonus cantrip is into the main class. Whoops. So you now actually get a spell list. It's pretty cool, and you get it shifting depending on what land type you want to be. And you can change, I think, on long rest. Yeah, you can change it on long rest. Um, and Lands 8 is a big version of Wither and Bloom where you're able to deal a lot of damage, AoE, and then heal up one of your allies in that AoE. Nice, nice. Natural Recovery is been moved to level 6. I got a free use any spell in the spell circle in addition on a short rest, not list. You can cover spells can happen. Oh yes, you get the kind of get the wizard's recovery here. Yep, you get the wizard's recovery. Nice, nice. And you get a free casting of any spell on the current list circle that you can cast. Okay, the subclass phenomenal, all buffs. Lance tried, it was kind of bad. Now you get natural recovery. Oh, that was natural recovery. Okay, cool. Um, so nature's warden. You gain resistance based off the land type you have. So like desert is fire, just like that. Um, However, you lost the immunity to being charmed or frightened by elemental or fey. This didn't happen with elemental fey. This might have happened with, and that's the wrong spelling of fey. Eh, I mean, unless your campaign is set in the Feywild, it's not a nerf. Um, or Fey are involved at this level. Finally, Nature's Sanctuary. It's had a bit of a rework. Now you can create an area that gives your allies cover, like it's like a giant branching tree, whatever it wants it to be, that gives them half cover and resistance to the current land type. And this feature no longer requires a wild shape. That's why I'm lying. Okay, so it is a wild shape. Then again, so more more ways not to use wild shape or wild shaping. Speaking of wild shape for wild shaping, so combat wild shape just got moved to the druids, which is a nerf to the moon druid. Um, And now the CR like written ability just got written into the base class, so you can do it a little bit faster with the your class level divided by 3. Um, you now get a base armor. This is actually a buff of your 13 plus your wisdom modifier. So if you have more than the beast, it's good. If you have less than the beast, you just go to the beast's AC. I think this will actually be a buff. And will be a reason. One of the things is that um, I don't think you want to be the armored the 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 nature's what is it called? Primal order. The primal order. I don't think you want to do the armor primal order. I think you want to go for the backline druid because you're not spending your time in combat as the as yourself. You're spending it as a beast. And instead you've gained temporary hit points equal to your level times 3. This is obviously not comparable to the kinds of beasts you could turn into before. It's a lot less HP, but the AC is a lot higher in some cases. Um, I feel like this sucks at early levels, but it'll make up for itself as we go along because the other features of the Moondra that sucked are now better. Um, Now there is a spell list. Um, so here's your expanded spell list. Starry Whispers. That was a new druid spell. You have a much more consistent cantrip that you can cast. Cure Wounds, Moonbeam as well. Conjure Animals. Conjure Animals. It kind of sucks now. Um, but it deserved to suck. Phantom Moonlight. That's also new. I don't remember what that does yet. These Cure Wounds. Um, Again, Primal Strikes got moved to the base class. Um, but now you have improved forms where you can now attack with radiant damage. Um, with your strikes. Um, as well as your wisdom is added to your Constitution saving throws while in beast form. Nice, nice. Element wild shape was kind of weird because you're turning into the the 4 elementals. Um, got replaced by Moonlight Step, which is Misty Step, and then you have an advantage on the next attack you make. Um, then you can do this equal to your Wisdom modifier and regenerate all uses. By spending a second or higher level spell slot, or just waiting until a long rest. And finally, 1,000 forms, which I think that was literally just the ability to cast. It was bad. And is that replaced by Luniform? Uh, you now. Why is it no? So you now deal an extra 2d8 radiant damage with one of your wild shape attacks, and in addition, you can take someone with you when you do the Moonlight Step. Um, so you can start teleporting all over the place. Look, it got a nerf to how overly broken it was, but the other parts of the subclass are just more refined and better. Circle of the Stars. Okay, a good subclass. Starry Map is now giving you free guiding bolts. That skill off of your wisdom modifier rather than your proficiency bonus. Um, so it used to scale a lot slower. It now can be like when you need the guiding bolts, they're there. I guess technically at the end of the day, you end up with 5 rather than 6, but like you're not gonna need that many first level guiding bolts when you're at higher levels. So it scales like faster, which is what you wanted for a level 1 spell. And as for the Cosmic Omen, it's also scales off your wisdom modifier rather than your proficiency bonus to get it a lot faster. Um, but this really didn't need to be added in this book. Those are the only 2 changes, and they're very minor. It was already a well-designed subclass to begin with. Um, I feel like they could have picked up, the Shepherd Druid, which they kind of broke. Right. This is the new one, Druid of the Sea. I like the subclass, but it is highly focused on, you guessed it, using your wild shape for not wild shaping. All right, spell list. It's all right. It's not the strongest. You can see the spells on screen for yourself. Um, but more importantly is Wrath of the Sea. So you can use your wild shape to create a protective bubble around yourself that repels enemies in melee range and also deals damage to them based off your wisdom modifier multiplied by the d6s. So it's a very defensive oriented subclass. Aquafinity, your wrath now expands out to 10 feet, and you gain a swim speed. I think you should have gained a swim speed at the start of this subclass, but hey, you know what? It's all golden. And then you get Stormborn, and now it gives you a flying speed and resistance to cold, thunder, and lightning damage. That's cool. This is where the subclass really gets to pop off. And Ocean's Gift, you can share your wrath. You can share the abilities with an ally by using two of your wild shapes when you do this rather than one. But you have less wild shapes. Remember that. So the problem with this subclass is that you just don't have as many wild shapes. So you have the same kind of problem as the old barbarian, where you might not have enough wild shapes for the day to even like use the Ocean's Gift ability. Um, 'Cause you're only if you don't wild shape, you don't have a subclass. Pretty much, you have the expanded spell list, and that's it. So it might be a little bit of a problem, but it is a nice defensive subclass that I think it wants to be in melee range. Yeah, because you want to get close to the enemies. You have the ability to get close to the enemy. I feel like this is a good contender for the Primal Order to be much more of a melee focused subclass. The other subclasses, Dreams just doesn't have any use for the wild shape, which really sucks. I guess it's got the Primal Order feature that didn't have options to last time. Shepherd is broken because it no longer functions properly because the whole point was to buff the summons. Um, that they just don't summon creatures anymore like they used to. Some of them still do. However, the level 14th ability kind of conjures both at the moment. It conjures the past conjure animals, where it's either the four 2 CR animals, as well as now it also it also casts conjure animals at ninth level, which is the current conjure animals, and both of them don't need concentration. So you have a rolling death ball of this is damage. It's just funny. I don't think maybe it doesn't work as I think it should work. Justice for Shepherd's Druid. Spores. You got some spell changes, some promoter, and then the good use of wild shape for the wildfire druid really helps out there. You don't have as much as you would normally. Okay, so I think overall, I think durability took a hit. The wild shape is garbage for being defensive in combat. I don't see why you would use it there. Otherwise, I think everything else got buffed. You have more damage than you used to. Uh, you know what? I'm not even sure about the damage. I think the damage might have also been nerfed because the problem with it was conjuring. I mean, you get more. You know what? Whoops, that's the fighter stuff. We'll do that tomorrow when I'm not as tired. I'm live. We're live editing this. I feel like there was buffs and nerfs to the damage because you lost some consistency. So I'm gonna change it to being even. Um, but I think, yeah, your durability did take a hit. As far as your supportive skills, I think you got better spells and subclasses for the support abilities that you can provide. And then for exploration, I think it really popped off um with what you can do. more so than the ranger, and we'll get into that later. Uh, but yeah, your utility and investigative stuff change. You can now talk, so that increases your social ability when you're wild shaping. Uh, I just I think now it's look, it's more reasonable. It's not a problem anymore. It's a mid A. It's still it's a damn good class in general, but wild shape is unique. Whoops, wild shape is unique to the druid, and I'm sad to see it fall this low. Um, like that's one of the big distinctions between a cleric and a druid is wild shape versus channel divinities. Um, and then their spell list. But I think that's what separates both of the main supports from one another. So I'm gonna end it off here, and then actually, well, I guess the bard is the last main support, but the bard focus on more utility stuff, which is what separates it. All right, we're gonna end it here.